Okay, I'm over here to the other edge, and I just want to make sure that the collar pieces match identically, which they do. So now I'm going to start sewing. Make sure you take those curves. You work those curves around, because you have to work this in, so you're not doing straight stitches. You're kind of stitching at a curve, at an angle. Okay, so now that we've got it close to a pin, we're going to take that pin out, and we're going to ride this curve right on around. So, you know, when you get to the curves, slow down, because you definitely want to fit this in really nice and neat. There we go. Make sure you feel the bottom of the material, and make sure the bottom of the material, the integrity of that is intact and there's no folds in it. There we go. Make sure you pull it from the bottom. And you can feel whether or not there's a, I'm trying to go fast and I know I need to go slow, but you'll be able to feel if there's a fold up under the material, up under there, because you can't see up under there. So that's why you gotta kind of go slow and kind of ride those curves around. Okay, we just about have the bodice portion of our jacket together. Grab it from up under here, and you can see it better. Okay, so I don't know if that makes sense. If you can see that it would make sense to you. Now, to make a quick liner for this, I don't know what they have me doing, but I could clearly take some material. Of course, make sure that it's cut perfectly and cut right. This is just a seamstress tip. This is not according to the pattern. But I can take some material and sew it from this side, then flip it over, and then it will be a lining, and then just take the seam and just go back to finish it over. Some of you guys might know what I'm talking about. I might have lost some of you guys, but I just had to speak on that right quick. For those of you guys that know how to do that, that is one way that you can finish that off. Now look at the seams. Our seams are perfect. Just the way I like them. Look at that. Perfect. Okay, let's get started with the rest. Okay, so now we're going to get started on our sleeves. So let's remove the pins. Put all of your pieces to the side and fold them all up together at the end, and then put them inside, back inside of the envelope. But if you do it that way, then therefore you don't have to search for them in case you want to remake the same project again. So what we're going to do is we're going to put an ease stitch in here. And it's somewhere in between here where our notches go. So let me pull this pattern back. And let me mark my territory here. Okay. So it's going to go about here. So I'm just going to bubble in the 12s on there with hopes that they will bleed through. And then this is our center here. Did it come through? It did. So we're going to do the same thing on the other one. So we're just going to flip that over. We're going to line this back up to our notches, which are those little triangles, to let us know where we're at when we're sewing. Okay, so now I'm going to just bubble in those 12s. Okay. Now it should have bled through, which it did. So our E-stitch is going to go between the circles, and the top of the sleeve is where that middle dot is. Now, on this one, we're going to do a very wide stitch because we're going to use that in case we need to do some gathering to fit the sleeve inside of the armhole of our bodice top. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, I want to say about 1/4 of an inch from the selvage, which is the edge. And now I'm just going to go on around. I don't need to backstitch because we're simply, and then with this, I'm going to pull it out further because I'm going to tell you why. And the reason why we don't backstitch is because we're going to take these long threads here and then we're going to pull this for the gathering. But I'm not going to do that just yet because now I have to take these seams together to make it look like a sleeve. Because at first it's not looking like a sleeve. Now it's getting ready to look like a sleeve. So we're going to put these side pieces together like so. This was it. We're going to put these pieces together. This. And this. Okay. The main thing is to make sure the edge is together. So I like to go from the edge of my wrist down as opposed to going from the top down. I like to go this way. Okay, so I'm simply going to go about 1/4 of an inch in. Okay, I can't see the back of the selvage in the window, so my placement is good. Let me bring that stitch back down. Okay. Back stitch and go forward. Get to the edge, I'm going to back stitch a little bit and then go out. Okay, so now look at our threads. Our threads are perfect. That's what I want to see. Okay, now let's get the other one going. Do our wide stretch, our wide ease stitch in first. Change your settings. Take that circle all the way around. No back stitch. Pull out, cut, take these two sides together like that. We're going to make sure our edges of our wrists are together, and we're going to go from, as I would go, from the bottom to the top, because of course I want my wrists, you know, the seams at my wrists to match up. Definitely. Okay. Oh, let me bring my stitch down. Back stitch. And now let's make sure we got her all lined up here and go. Back stitch and out. Okay. Now, our stitches are perfect. Cut off our excess threads. So the only hanging thread should be for our E-stitch there at the top. Okay. So now let me get my flounce for my wrists and get those going. To do our flounce for our sleeve, you want to find the size that you're going with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Sharpie and I'm going to trace that 12 all the way through with hopes that it will bleed through, and then we'll cut that center out. Here it's going to be a triangle. We're going to match that triangle there because that's where we're going to match in the center of the wrist when we get ready to sew it. So now let me take these guys off. Okay, it's giving me my marking, so now I'm going to flip this over. I'm gonna do the same thing on this opposite side, but I just want to make sure I keep the integrity of. Okay, so there and here, and I'm going to trace that same very circle again for the other side before we cut it. It did. Good. Okay, so now what we're going to do is the easy way to cut this out is I'm going to pinch it like that. Then I'm going to take my scissors inside of that hole and I'm simply going to go to my draw line and cut that out like that. Make sure you cut your triangle piece out because that's your marking to connect this onto your sleeve. Where did I get this pattern from? Well, I got this pattern from Hobby Lobby. And Hobby Lobby right now we're having a sale on McCall patterns. Is this McCall? I'm certain this is a McCall. Yeah. They had the McCall patterns for $1.99. So that's where I got this pattern from. And I just got it. So I got it a couple days ago. So today is Friday. I want to say I got it on Wednesday. I did. I got it on Wednesday. Let me get you guys up to speed as to where I'm at. Some time has passed and I had to upload the last clips, and I also had a cooking video that I had those clips that I had to upload onto my laptop to free up some more space for my camera. And so while that was doing that, I just simply, you know, finished one arm of the jacket, and I wanted you guys to see how far I've gotten with that. So let me bring you guys back up to speed. First thing we're going to do is we're going to iron out the seams of this other sleeve. And to iron out the seams, you simply lay it out like so. And then we're going to open her up like this. And press her out like that. Okay. Now that we have the seams pressed, what we're going to do is we're going to put a stay stitch in here. How do we do that, Auntie? How do we do it? Well, let me show you. Let's remove this. We're going to take the arm off to give us some work with room. And we're going to go in the center of this. And we're simply going to go around the inside circle. Okay? You're going to work your material around, so you might want to not go fast, especially if you're new to these type of techniques. Okay? So you want to take your time with it, but you want to put a stay stitch inside of the armhole of your sleeve flounce. Okay? Now, when it gets close to that end, it's going to overlap the seam anyway if you did it nice and straight. I'll go back a couple stitches just to be sure about it. Okay? So, now that we've done that part, okay, Now let's hem it. Okay. Now I could have kept the arm on for that, but I'm gonna have to take the arm off anyway to fit this inside of the sleeve. So let's spin this around really quick and get this hemmed. I'm not gonna backstitch because it's gonna overlap anyway. So don't worry about a backstitch right now. But you're simply just guiding through, grabbing a little bit at a time, working your way around those curved edges. And we're simply going to hem that. Working your way all the way around it. Using your other finger as a guide to keep that material up under there, up under your pressure foot, with no gathers and no folds. Okay, now that we're making our way back to where we started, now overlap that seam and do it nice and neat so that the threads don't overlap each other badly. I'm going to show you up close as to what I'm talking about. Okay, and especially being that, you know, portions of this is orange and you'll be able to see your threads very well. You don't want, oops, for real, did I just nip that? I just nipped my flounce. Let me put a stay stitch in here to keep that from messing up at some point in time. Kind of go over that a little bit. Yeah, I did that. I cut it with the scissors. Okay. Now that I got my little mend fixed. I straight cut it with the scissors. Okay. Alrighty. Yeah, I sure did. You're not going to be able to see it though. Okay, so now that we have that done, this has been pressed all out. So now we're going to turn this inside out. I mean, right side in or whatever. Okay. Now, once you do that, now you're going to take this. You're going to turn this inside out. You're going to match the triangle pieces together. So once it's sewn, it's going to flip like that. Okay. Now, we're going to start sewing at our marks at the triangle pieces. Okay. Put this inside of here, inside of that hole. Connect the triangle piece. And now that our arm is off, it gives us more room to maneuver this armhole. Now you're going to have to take your time with this because you don't have a lot of room to work with here. Okay, so now you want to also make sure you don't have any folds under the bottom or anything. Okay, and that the material is not connecting itself to the bottom. That's the reason I have one hand on the bottom one finger on the bottom while I have a couple of fingers on top, and therefore I can guide my way around to ensure that I'm not connecting wrong pieces and wrong edges together. Now that those seams are meeting, now I'm going to back stitch a couple stitches and go forward, and we're done. Now we're going to take all these threads, cut them. Now we have no hanging threads. Okay. Now when we flip her all back together, now we have a flounced sleeve. I hate I cut her a little bit on the corner, but it's in the back. It's not going to show, but damn it, I hate I did that. That was an accident. So anyway, we have one and we have two. So now let's marry these arms onto our bodice.